Welcome back everyone. Today I'm showing you how to create the load more functionality in the Next.js application. So as you can see, we have 10 posts here. When I click the load more posts, it will fetch the 11, 12, and then 20 posts right here. So basically what I'm doing is on the header here, I make a request on the JSON placeholder, as you can see, and the payload have two parameters, start and limit. Every time I make a load more posts, as you can see, the start is going to be increment by 10, right? Here we go. And this is basically a server action, so it will fetch on the server side. So that's why this is really fast. When we on the last page, it will showing the no load more posts. Let me showing you right here. Be on the 100 posts, and when we click that again, as you can see, no more posts to load. So basically we check the response right here. If the response is empty, we showing this no more posts to load. So yeah, that's what we are going to learn in this video, and let's get started. Like my other video, I like to create everything from scratch. So let's do npx create next app, and for the application name I'm going to say Next.js load more. Let's just hit enter, and for the TypeScript, I'm going to say yes, ESLint yes, Tailwind yes, source yes, app router also yes, and import alias, I'm going to say no. Just wait for that until it's done. Alright, great, it's done. So now let's open that into Visual Studio Code. We can say code and then the application name. In this case, we have Next.js load more. Hit enter and it will open the Visual Studio Code for us. Let's open a terminal. We can say npm run dev to start the development server. It will open the localhost 3000. And also now we are going to go to the page. This is the page that we see right here basically. So here I'm going to remove all this main and just put a div and then h1 Next.js load more, something like that. And now we should see Next.js load more. But as you can see, this look, I don't know what's happening, but let's take a look on the global.css. As you can see, what happened is all of this. So let's remove that and everything should clean right now. Great. So let's go to layout.tsx, and here I'm going to return main to wrapping these children like that. And then inside this main, I'm going to say class name. The maximal width, I'm going to set that to, let's say, XL, and the MX, I'm going to set that to auto. It basically make our container smaller. So let's see if you cannot see it. I'm going to say background red. It doesn't matter, but I think it's fine. This is the container basically, right? Let's remove the background. Cool. So now let's go back to the page here. So what I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to create a component that will render the post list. So inside the source, I'm going to create a folder called components. Inside the components folder, I'm going to create a file called let's do post list.tsx. And also I'm going to create postcard for individual card. Let's do post card.tsx. Great. Let's do in here rfc, hit enter, and I'm going to change the name. Let's do rfc again, and I'm going to change the component name to post card with capital P and C, like that. Great. So of course for the post list as well, so we can say post list. Should be list like that. Great. We can remove the React because we don't need that. Nice. So now we can render the post list inside the page here. It will import automatically like that. Pretty cool. So we have post list right here. I hope you can see that. So now let's go back to page here, and I just want to add some simple styling here. For margin vertically, I'm going to set that to 10. And also in this heading one, I'm going to say text center, and also make it a little bit bigger to XL. Just add some underline and just set the font to bold. And this is what we have. And basically inside this post list here, I'm going to make a request on the API. But for now, we are going to make a dummy data first, and then After restyling that, we are going to make a fetch request on this type code right here, this JSON placeholder. Basically, I'm going to fetch that from this URL here, jsonplaceholder.typecode.com/post. Nice. So now here, I think maybe we can just copy and paste this data, maybe to data, I think. Let's copy that and paste it right here. I'm gonna say const, let's do post, set equals to this array right here, just like that. Okay, so now let's make it smaller. I hope you can still see that. So in here, we need to map through this post. But first, I'm going to wrapping that inside the div. And this div have a class called text center, just like that. And here we can say post dot map. We need to map the post, and then for individual posts, like so, I'm going to render the postcard that we have already created in here, right? As you can see, we get some warning here. That is because if we map through some array, we need to specify the key. So here we can say key set equals to post.id, just like that. Now we should see 2 postcard inside this data here. And also we need to send the post set that equals to post inside this postcard right here. And of course, we can grab that. We can say post. Because we're working with TypeScript, it's better if we have the type of this post, right? So we can say like post dot and we get the autocomplete right there. All right, so now it's better if we have another folder called types. This basically will leave all our type basically, but in this case we just have one case. So I think we need to just create one file called post.ts like that. So in here, what we can do, simple, we need to export interface call post like that. And it have ID, the ID should be number, and it have title should be string, and we have body it should be string, like the data we see right here, right? ID, number, title, and body is going to be string. I'm not use this user ID because we not use on my project right here. Let's go back here, and now we need to specify this post should be have this interface right here. It's pretty simple. So here we need to create type call postcard props, right? And then set that equals to, because we're using type, we need to set the equals right here. And in here, I'm gonna say post should be have type post come from the types, like that. So now we need to specify this post should be have this type. Copy that name and paste it right here. So now if I say post dot, as you can see, we have suggestion right here, ID, title, and body. Cool, right? So in here, we are going to return a div with class. I'm gonna say border, and then margin, let's say margin vertically, I'm gonna set that to 4, and also the background, let's say slate 100 maybe, and also the padding, I'm gonna do 10, and yeah, just like that. Hit enter, and I think we need to add a dash right here, P10 for, as you can see when I hover, we have padding 2.5 rem. Inside this div, I have heading 2, and this basically will render the title. So I can say post.title, and down here we have the paragraph, and this is gonna be render the body. Let's say post.body, like that. When I save, of course, we get the data right here. Cool. So let's add just simple class name here. For the heading 2, I'm gonna say font semi-bold and text to XL. Okay, nice, great. So I like to add a number in here. For example, this card here should be have number 1 and it's gonna be number 2. Okay, pretty simple to add that. So here I'm gonna add span, and then this span should have post.id, right? So as you can see, we have 1 and then 2 right here. So let's add some styling here. Class name, the background, I don't know, let's say red 400. And also the text should be white, not wrap, but white, like that. And also the padding, I'm gonna set that to, let's save. Okay, cool. So now I'm gonna put this text here into the very top left, this border, this card right here. Simple, we can just put an absolute, this absolute. If I do that and I can say top 0, it should be on the top right here. Everything should be on the top. If I say top 0 and left 0, everything should be on the top left right here, because the relative now is all this body right here. So now we need to make sure the relative, it should be this div here. So we can say relative, and then it should be right here and right here. So next, I'm going to go back to post list and we are going to add this button. So let's do button with the class name call. I'm going to do background slate, maybe 500. And let's add the text should be load more posts. Save, and this is what we have. Let's change the color of the text. It should be white. And also when I hover that, I want to change the background to slate, maybe 400, like that. Cool. Let's add some padding, I think. Padding Y to, I don't know, maybe 5. Okay, and also the width, I'm gonna set that to 100, which is width full. Okay, so let's go back in the browser, and as you can see, this is look really clean. Okay, and the next thing, what we are gonna do, so basically for the initial render, what we are gonna do is we are going to add this star and limit. As you can see in here, we are gonna use this range basically, and we are gonna add this parameter in this URL. We're gonna add star. For the first render, we're gonna do start from 0, and then the limit is gonna be 10, like this one. Okay, and then when user click the load more for the first time, click 1, it's going to be start from 10, like that. For the click 2 right here, gonna be start from 20. That's what we are gonna do basically. All right, so let's go back, and then inside the source, I'm gonna create config folder. So let's do config, and inside the config folder, I'm gonna create constant.ts, and in here, I'm going to export variable called API underscore URL set equals to, let's copy the URL here. I'm gonna copy all of that, copy that and paste it right here. And also I'm going to export, I'm going to export variable called post per page. Set that equals to, it should be 10. This is basically for the limit of our application. As you can see right here, it's gonna be 10, right? Nice. So the next thing is, let's go to source, and I'm gonna create folder called actions, like that. And inside the action, let's create file called get-post.ts. So in here, that basically we are going to create a function that will responsible to fetch this URL here. Let's export function called get-post set equals to, I'm gonna use arrow function here. And then I'm going to create variable called URL. URL set that equals to, I'm going to use backtick because we are going to put variable inside this string. So first we are going to get the API URL come from the constants. And then I'm going to add question mark. And then in here, I'm going to grab the offset. And also I'm going to grab the limit. So when we call this get post on our component here on the post list, we need to send this offset and limit. So the offset, it should be number, and the limit, and the limit, it also should be a number, like that. So here we can send the star set equals to, it should be the offset, and also let's add and right here, and add limit set equals to, limit, it should be limit. come from these props. Great. Let's do try. And then down here, I'm going to say catch. In the catch, I'm going to grab the error. Wait, I'm going to grab the error. And then the error should be have type unknown, like that. And here, I just want to console error, the error, just like that. And inside this try, this is basically we need to fetch the URL here. Because we need to fetch data, of course, we need to await the data, right? When we have cons response, we need to await in here before we fetch, right? So of course, because we're using await in here, we need to change this function into async, like that. Great. So down here, we need to grab the data. Data set equals to await until we get the response.json. And then this response.json should be have type post of array, right? Great. So in here, I'm going to check if the response.okay it's false, like that. I just want to console log. Let's do console log right here. And the message is depend what you want, basically. Let's do something went wrong, just like that. And yeah, we're done, right? So let's try to fetch the data. So let's go back to, I think we need to close others and just open the, I think we are going to fetch that on the app and then page right here. Okay, so we can say cons initial post set equals to, you're going to await this get post right here, right? And then of course, because we await in here, we need to change this component into async, like that. But as you can see, this get post is expected to argument. So let's send that. So the first thing is the start is going to be 0. And the limit should become from post per page, which is 10, right? So if I console log initial post, let's take a look what we have on the console. But to be honest, it's not going to be showing on the console because we're working on the server right now. So let's open the terminal and we get an undefined. Okay, we get something wrong happen basically. So let's refresh that again. We still get undefined. Let's go back and API URL, just make sure everything worked correctly. JSON placeholder, typecode.com, yep. And then, oh yeah, that is because we not return anything in this try. So we can say return data, just like that. And as you can see on the terminal, we get all this data here. It's going to be start from ID 1 and then going to ID 10. So we get the data. Cool. So in this page, we can send the initial post into the post list. Initial post set equals to initial post. We get the warning here. That's because post list now not get that props. So we can say initial, wait, I think we need to go back and just copy the name, go back here like that. And here I'm going to create type call post list props set equals to initial post set equals to post come from the type. And we need to put that inside in this props here. So we can say post list props. So when I hover this, as you can see, the initial post have this post type. I'm going to create state call post like that. And then let's import the use state. This is post should have type call post inside an array like that. And by default, I'm going to put this initial post. So now let's remove this post. And now we're using this post come from this response of API, right? So let's go back, and when I refresh, we get some error happen. That is because we're using this use state. All right, when we're using use state, we need to change this component into client component. So we can say use client Select that, let's save, and as you can see, all the data will render on the browser. So now let's make this button works. This button load more down here, right? So first, of course, we need to handle the on-click event in this button. On-click set equals to, I'm going to create file function, call load more posts, like that. So let's create up here. So I'm going to say const load more posts set equals to arrow function. And let's say console log first. And I'm going to click that. It should be nothing happened really. So let's refresh that and let's do click. And as you can see, the first is rendered in the console. Cool. So now what we need to do in here, so we can say const. So basically we are going to make a fetch request in this function. So I'm going to do API post set equals to, because we need to make a request, of course we need to use await in here. Because we're using await, of course this function should be async, like that. So let's do await for get post, and we need to send the basically offset and also the limit, right? But we need to, the offset and the limit is will change every time we click this button. So that's why we need to use some state in here. So first is going to be current offset like so. And also this type, it should be number, and by default I'm going to do post per page, which is 10. And then we need to send this current offset in this function here, and then send also the post per page, which is 10 in this case, right? So down here, what I'm gonna do, we can say set post into, I'm gonna grab the previous post, which is initial post in this case. And then I'm going to make a new array and put all the previous posts in the first place. And then I'm gonna add the API post in the last value on this new array right here. All right, so as you can see, we have this warning, but we're gonna fix that later. And now, as you can see, when I refresh, we get 10 posts, right? But when I click this load more posts, as you can see, it's make a fetch request. Then as you can see, we have 11, 12, and etc. We have 20. When I click that again, we have it start from 11 now. We have some bug going on in our application, right? But we're gonna fix that later. Alright, so let's go back. The problem is because the current offset is not updated. We just get the 10 value here. So we need to, every time we run this function, we need to update this current offset. We need to increment that by 10. Alright, so now let's run the set current offset down here. And I'm gonna grab the previous current offset, like that. And then in here, I'm gonna do previous current offset plus post per page. In this case is 10. So we get 10 plus 10. In this case, we have 20 for the first load more post run. Okay, so let's save and let's do that again. I'm going to refresh, and then we have 10 right here. You can click load more, we have 20. Load more, we have 30. Great. But as you can see, we have some warning going on here. That's because this response here sometime is undefined. So let's go back to get post and let's take a look what we have here. If this catch here run, as you can see, we not really handle anything here. We not return anything when something wrong happened. So we need to do return maybe empty array like that. And of course, we need to copy this and paste that also in this if the response is not okay. All right, so hopefully now it's no error going on. As you can see, it's clean. Great. So I'm going to see the last post. So let's change the current offset here into, I'm going to do 90 like that. And I'm going to refresh. And when I click load more posts, as you can see, we have 100, right? As you can see on the payload here, basically the star is 90 and the limit is 10. When I click that again, it's make a request on 100 star and the limit is 10. And of course, the response is should be empty array. But as you can see, we still get this button. I want when there's no data on this response, we need to change this button to something like no more post load, something like that. So let's go back to this post list, and then I'm going to first create a state call. I'm going to do has more data like that, and this is going to be boolean true and false. By default, of course, it's going to be true because we need to make sure by default on the first time it's showing this button. Okay, so now I'm going to check this condition right here. So I'm going to do diff, and then inside this diff I'm going to say if has more data is true, I'm going to return this button here. Wait, something. Okay, I'm going to cut that out and paste that right here. And else what I'm going to do is just render ptag. So in this ptag, I'm going to say no more post to load, something like that. So as you can see now, when we on the last post, which is 100 right here, if I click that, hopefully, oh, not works. It's not works. That's because we not really change this data here. All right, as you can see, it's always true, by the way. So we need to change in here. So if API post.length is empty, right, we need to set has more data into false. That's it. So let's refresh. And then when I click that, it's gonna be go through 100. When I click that again, as you can see, no more post to load. Great. I think we already implement all this thing here. And then of course we need to make sure this is should be a post per page like that. So we need to start from 10. All right, everything works. So the next thing I'm showing you is how to add the loading skeleton in here. I mean, when we click that, we need to showing the loading, right? But I'm going to showing you that on the next video, because in the next video, I also want to showing you when we don't have this button. I mean, when we scroll down, it's fetch automatically. All right. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned something new and see you on the next video.